Okay, we are live now, guys. Okay, so this week we had the assignment of reading about dismissing employees. And we also read about the employee at will doctrine. Let's see, so I'm going to pick on Chandler first. So what was the employee at will document? Remember what that was?
That was a second reading, right?
Yes.
That one pretty much just kind of talks more about like the policies of like how to like let someone go, pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of gave you a little bit more like, less not so much about like the experience, kind of like the Two Tough Calls one, but more kind of give you like the the policies that you need to kind of be going on to be aware of with contracts and everything.
Yep. Yes. Okay, and Connor, do you remember what some of the exceptions to that were?
I know it talks about, I'm just looking at it right now, and so the headings are just breach of implied contract, breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, violation of public policy, notice requirements, other statutory protections for terminated employees. So I kind of had a tough time understanding this concept. I know it talked about like how it deals with hiring with firing. Like some places, like only the United States has the right or something to that effect where you can fire anyone like without, I forgot the wording. Yes, this is the employee can quit at any time and the employer can discharge the employee at any time for any or no reason with or without notice. Can anyone else help me with that? I kind of had a tough time understanding that, or is that it? Like,
there was you hit the main ones, and if anyone has anything else to add, if not, I'll expand a little bit more on those. It was kind of hard. It's actually glad I was discussion leader on this one. Okay, so the first one we had was breach of implied contract, and that's the contract between the employer and the employee that is created by the actions of the employer. So the employer could imply that the employee will have continued employment by making statements about how well the employee is doing. And the employer would also create an implied contract through an employment manual that details termination practices. For example, like a 3 strikes policy that they would give notice before firing somebody. So they're just implied, like they're not actual contracts.
Gotcha.
So, and the breach of implied contract of good faith and fair dealing, that would come into play when an employer unfairly tries to avoid doing what they agreed to do under that contract, the implied contract with the employee. And violation of public policy, terminating an employee for refusing to commit an unlawful act, serving on jury duty, blowing the whistle, filing for workers' comp, refusing to date one's boss. So just those, and of course there's others, but that was just a small list that they gave me.
Okay.
And there was also discrimination statutes in there. So those anti-discrimination statutes, like the Title VII that covers the race, national origin, gender, religion, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Age Discrimination in Employment Act, which kind of all fall under the situation that we read about. Okay. So we read about the manager, what is her name? But she has 2 situations with Terry and also with Phil. the two that aren't performing that well on her team. Okay, so JJ. So what we'll talk about Terry first. So what impact does Terry have on the company's bottom line?
Sorry, you cut out the company's what?
On the company's bottom line. So how is he impacting that company?
Yeah, I feel I relate a lot to the manager's style, like really blunt and straightforward. I don't like beating around the bush. And so I feel that Terry with the company is not helping us. If anything, he's hurting us because he's wasting our time trying to work around him and getting him involved when nobody even really wanted him there besides the higher up, the executives anyways. No one really agreed that he should be there. So I feel he just affecting it as in regards to time. He's wasting our time. And money, of course. You have to pay him for that. But.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and Caitlin, what impact does Phil have on the company's bottom line?
Well, it doesn't sound like he's really being productive, so he's not helping bring in any money, but the money they have to pay, like his wages and his benefits decrease. So he's using more money than he's bringing in, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's talked about his salary or not.
Yeah, so basically they're both costing the company money. And he's taken a position that someone else more productive could be in. Okay, Keaton, what obligations does the manager have to the company based on the information we talked about?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I mean, I guess obligations to make sure that the company or the employees that are underneath her are doing what they need to do, and I don't know, everything's running smoothly. I'm not sure. I don't know if I missed that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That's all I got.
Yeah.
I know that Terry and the other guy are. I know Terry. She has to keep on because the CEO and the VPs really like him, and that's why he got hired. But that's yeah.
Yeah, so that's an added pressure because the higher ups don't want to let go of Terry because
Yeah.
of the connection that Terry has.
And the other guy's on disability, and it's hard to fire that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they already were going to.
Yeah. Okay. So from what we read about what the manager thinks about the two, pretty much Terry makes no contribution. So all his salary and his benefits are pure cost to the company. And the company is only making $300,000 a year. So that kind of eats into that. And overall, Phil would be a little bit less of a financial liability. Just a little bit. Okay, Chandler.
Yeah.
So based on what we've learned about employment at will and the exceptions, what legal obligations could the manager have to Terry?
Sorry, can you repeat that last part?
What legal obligations could the manager have to Terry?
To Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if they have many legal obligations. Was he the one over 40 or was that Phil?
No, he was the older one. Yeah.
Okay, so then, yeah, I mean, they couldn't fire him because of his age.
Mm-hmm.
But he's hurting them. He doesn't need to be there. So I don't know. That one's a tough one because they kind of need him out of there, but like the manager can't just say, well, he's old, we have to get him out of there.
Mhm. Okay, and Connor, so kind of the same question, but directed towards Phil.
Towards Phil?
So what legal obligation for Phil?
Well, I know Phil, like, it said he performs well, but they just don't like him. Like, he just is. Well, so this is the confusing thing I had about Phil that I actually wanted to ask. Here it says that he, like, after his surgery, his productivity was decreasing, but yet they said he's, I think he was a technical person or something like that. So I'm not sure exactly what that would fall under, which, what'd you call them, exemptions or whatever. I don't know if I can phone a friend for some help, but
He wasn't technical at all, and this was a very technical team.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's like a call center
for
guy.
Phil?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, then what did it say he was really good at? It said he was like
Managing
competent.
the call center.
Yeah.
Was he really good at translating, or was that the other
Yeah,
one?
so
I think that was him.
I could have swore it said he was like good at something. Maybe it was just for the call
yeah,
center.
it's translated, I think.
Let's see.
Was he like where he would? No.
Let's see.
Was he the one who he would do like the translation? He just couldn't make a decision.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would.
Critical
He
thinking,
would.
problem solving.
Yeah. He would end up emailing the CEO or whatever for help, and all of his other people. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what what you call those exemptions that would fall under, because it wouldn't be breach of implied contract, I don't think. I
No,
don't know.
Terry's the one
Maybe
who could translate things, not Phil. So Phil's pretty useless then.
Well, I thought it said Phil was better than Terry.
Yeah, but I think they just specifically mentioned that Terry could do something well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they both are about the same.
Yeah. Performance-wise, yes.
Oh, it says on our team we dealt with so many other parties that we almost needed him as a liaison to all the people who didn't know how our system worked. So Phil actually managed to contribute something to the team, but it wasn't a full person's contribution because he didn't have any engineering or science or technical background. So let me take that what it's worth. Do you guys have an idea of what exemption that would fall under?
They didn't. I don't think there really was one for Phil, but just for Terry, there was a possibility of an implied contract.
What'd Chandler say to you, Caitlin? I want to know.
I was like, I didn't get a text. What the heck?
All right.
I just said, sounds like you,
Let's keep
Caitlin.
going.
Okay, and also for Phil, there was also the possibility of disability discrimination because of his health issues.
That's true. But wasn't he over his disability? He said he'd gone back and been working for 7 months or something and was fine. Or do you think that would still fall under?
I think that would still fall under because of the health issue that it was.
And how it affected him or something?
Yeah, there was just that possibility of him becoming sick again.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, let's see. So next we'll talk about the ethical obligation. And this will be for Caitlin. So what ethical obligations does the manager have to Terry?
Exactly right. It's really good. I love it.
I think the only real obligation is, I don't know, maybe to try and find, is it a guy or girl?
Terry's a guy, I thought.
Yeah, I think he's a guy.
Or maybe
Scuba diver.
To
doesn't say.
find him a place to work. So if right now his position isn't working, then maybe finding him something else in the company that he could be good at. And, you know, if he's just not working out, then why carry dead weight in the company? So
Mhm.
I thought it was funny. But yeah, dating's okay, but I haven't found anyone yet. So I'll have to keep trying. Work's been good.
Keaton, is someone talking about dating right next to you? I thought
Yeah,
he
I think
said,
so.
yeah,
Yep,
I'm
yep.
searching, but I can't find anything.
You guys want me to mute it?
You can if you want. I was just
I don't know.
listening.
You seem pretty intrigued. I can always leave it.
I was enjoying it.
Okay, I'll leave it.
Okay, and Keaton,
Yeah.
what ethical obligations does the manager have to Phil?
So, well, Phil just went on disability, so that would definitely be one. I think, right? And so he just returned to the company. He had, what did he have, cancer or something?
didn't he have like kidney failure or something like
I
that?
can't remember.
Yeah, he had something really bad. That's what I remember.
Yeah, he had something really bad. So he's coming back to the company. He's struggling.
Liver
And
problems.
it's unethical to hire someone for having liver problems.
Yeah, with Phil, I think his was a little trickier than Terry's because I think he got a lot of mixed signals. Because he's the one that he thought that he was gonna get a promotion and should get a promotion.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he did get sick, you know, like the whole company, they went out to his house and fixed his garden, and people donated their sick leave to him so that he could have, you know, some money while he wasn't working. So that would kind of be hard, you know, to treat an employee so well and then be like, oh, by the way, you're not going to work here anymore.
That's really sad. It's like false, whatever.
Yeah.
False hope.
Let's see. Okay. And let's see who's next. Chandler. So what ethical obligations would the manager have to the company in regards to Terry?
Well, the thing with Terry is that everyone above her really likes him, even though he doesn't do a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like, if this answers the question, but I feel like the manager is obligated to do her job, which puts her in a hard spot because she needs to do her job, but she also needs to please management. She can't really do both. So I think the obligation that she has is to figure out what the company's like plan is moving forward, and if Terry can be there, and if he's involved in that or not. If not, then she needs to find a way to let him go.
And what about to the other employees? Like, what obligations would you have to them with having Terry around?
Just to me, or just everyone else?
Yeah, no, that's to you.
Okay, yeah, so what does she have obligations to the other employees?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if she doesn't take any action, then that could send a message to the other employees, like, if you don't want to work, that's fine. You can still just hang out and be lazy.
Yeah.
Like, I would feel like she has an obligation to the other employees to take some sort of action.
Yeah, that wouldn't really be fair to them.
Yeah.
Since he's really not contributing much.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh, as long as you're well liked by your, you know, the upper management, you're good.
It's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Okay, and Connor, what ethical obligations would the manager have to herself if she kept Terry around?
Obligations to herself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think she has to like protect herself and her position. I don't know. I have no idea. Obligation to herself. I mean, she's supposed to do her job. She's supposed to protect her and the employees. I don't know if that's,
Mm-hmm.
but that's more to the employees in the company, not necessarily to herself. I don't know. I just think she's got to get rid of them, remove them.
Yeah, it would kind of go against everything that she kind of believes as a manager. Like, she normally would not keep somebody like that.
Right.
So,
She's just been getting, she's been getting so much heat from upper management about what to do. So, yeah.
Okay, and Caitlin, now we're going to talk about Phil now, kind of with the same questions. So what ethical obligations does a manager have to Phil?
Do some, I guess, and see if is due to his disability or just because he's. But I think he should give him a chance.
Okay, and Keaton, what was that?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What ethical obligations does the manager have to the company in regards to Phil? Like, if they kept him around.
Possibly maybe an obligation to make the company not look bad is firing someone after they get back from disability leave, possibly. But at the same time, he's not doing that much work. He's not working that hard, so she has an obligation to either fire him or move him somewhere else in the company.
And he's the one that the upper management wants her to get rid of.
Yeah.
If she did that, they would be happy.
Yeah.
So. Okay, and let's see. And Chandler, what ethical obligations does the manager have to the other employees with Phil?
With Phil, I could see some employees being upset that they would let him go after like what he's been through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say the obligations are the same with like anything else, like be taken, especially if it's really apparent with the lack of effort and contribution. But I could also see it being another tricky situation where Phil just overcame this liver problem. Like, we're great, they all went and supported him at the hospital. And then they could be a little upset, like, why are you letting him go? Like, it's too soon. He's got a wife and kid,
Mm-hmm.
He needs to take care of them.
Yeah. Okay. So some ethical obligations that were pointed out about Terry, one of them was that he could potentially be dangerous. I think I remember, like, he has like a gun in his car because he likes to go shooting. So if he were to get bad news, that might end badly. And of course, the top management wants to keep him because he's fun. And he had also been getting not high scores, but he's been getting, high enough so he doesn't, I guess, so he goes under the radar because the other managers had been probably falsely given him the good scores.
Even he rated himself a 3.0,
Mhm.
and he knew he wasn't a, what did they call, a superstar or something on the team.
Yeah.
So I don't think demoting him or moving him or firing him would be that big of a shock, because he even rated himself low, and he knows he's not the best on the team. He knows he's one of the worst, and so helping him understand the reasoning behind why we're having to let him go,
Yeah.
and he knows it. It's probably best for him too. So for his career.
Yep. Okay. And then for Phil, of course, he thinks he should get promoted. That is the whole company rallying around him when he was sick. So of course, to like other employees, it would look really bad if they, if they terminated this guy that was on his deathbed. Okay. So now we're gonna talk about the analysis of the company's HR practices. Who did I? Let's see. I think it's Connor's turn. Okay. So Connor, so how well is the company in the case doing with its HR practices in general?
I honestly don't even know how to answer that, because I don't feel like it talked about HR practices. I mean, one of the poor HR practices that they did is that they let the CEOs bring in what's his bucket?
Terry. Mm-hmm.
By being denied fully, basically, probably by the HR or the HR committee or whoever is involved in the hiring process.
Yep.
So that kind of gets a strike. And then I don't know about any other places. So I'd say under average or poor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like they have the right steps in place, but it gets over,
The execution.
You can get overridden by, the upper guys.
Yeah.
Okay, and JJ, so how do they hire at that place?
How did they hire?
How do they do the hiring?
I don't know.
Connor almost answered it for you.
I honestly don't remember. I'm trying to look for it now, but
You want to repeat what you were saying, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't go into huge detail, but I know they do a normal hiring, but then they have a huge committee that I guess votes on if they want to hire or drop the person, and so I guess that's how they hire. But that's, I think all we know.
Yeah.
Sounded like and then each person either said yes or
Caitlin, we're struggling to hear you. Your internet.
Yeah.
never mind, it wasn't that important.
Okay.
Nonsense.
No, yeah, they would go through 5. I believe they would go through 5 people, and they would either say yes or no. And typically, if 3 people said no, that would be the end. They didn't want to waste any more time on this potential employee. But with Terry, he got all no's, but he made it through 5 people, and he was still able to get hired somehow. Okay, and Caitlin, so in the company, how did they manage the people and give them their feedback?
Well, if they shouldn't, they fired because almost no one
Caitlin, we're
recovered
struggling to hear
for
you.
6 months.
Be nice, Connor.
Caitlin, you still there?
Oh,
Hope you guys hear me.
no, no. That's
I
they-
agree. I agree with Caitlin's answer.
yeah, that was perfect, Caitlin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they would do review every 6 months and give them feedback. And especially with this manager, she liked to be really direct with her employees. So if they were doing a good job, she'd tell them they're doing a good job. If they're doing bad, or if they give a bad meeting, she'd be like, "This is bad. We need to change it." And I think in a way, her employees respected her for that. They knew what to expect. You know, she wasn't trying to be mean, but she wanted them to improve because the better they were doing meant the better that, you know, she would be doing as well. It would look good for her. Okay, so Keaton, so with how they give feedback in that company, does it give the employee a clear picture of what they're doing, or is there more that they could be doing?
I would say the main girl, whatever her name is, I think she does it the right way. But how the company does it, I think they could be better.
Yep. Yep. I'm not sure if she's the only one who does it like that, but it's the only one that we hear about. So to me, it kind of seemed like she did things a little different than the rest of the company. But her department or area is also one of the higher performing ones. So she must be doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the way she does it. I think it's smart.
Mhm.
You don't beat around the bush.
Yep. Okay, and Chandler, what is the PIP for?
That's the performance improvement plan. Pretty much you give that to someone when they're not performing well and you want to see direct results fairly soon. It was because I've learned about this before, but it was interesting how she talked about how she didn't like it because it was pretty much like the step you took before you fired someone.
Mhm.
And she felt like that wasn't fair. So in most cases, and I would agree, it's kind of the step before you're like, that's kind of like, hey, we're looking to fire you type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Perfect.
I don't know if that was like a cultural thing or if that was within the company. Because if so, they could still do the program, but change the culture to where not everybody who's on PIP gets fired. Maybe they restructure it so that they do get better rather than having to fire them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the culture is just so bad when it comes to PIPs that's what everyone thinks and feels and knows is a bad thing. So maybe they restructure it or something. I don't know. To make it a program that works, but not assumes whoever is put on it is going to get fired.
Okay, and Connor, do you agree with the way the company uses PIPs?
No, I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
Because I just know that they're doing it to basically terminate people. I don't know why they did it, actually. I just thought it was useless, but yeah.
Yeah. Like the end of it kind of seemed harsh to me. Like you would either be let go right away, or as soon as you make a mistake, I think they give you like 30 minutes to clean your desk out.
Yeah, honestly.
With like people by you, it's like, yeah, that'd be a little embarrassing. Let's see. And JJ. So do you think that this manager, that she can make good decisions about these two people, about Terry and Phil? Or do you think that she's influenced too much by upper management?
I don't think she'll budge because of her strong opinions and the way she feels would be the best. And I feel like she has a strong character, or she won't give in to what upper management say because it's them. That's just the kind of feeling I get reading from her tone of voice and her views on the situation. So I don't think she will. I think she'll do what she feels is right.
Okay, so now we're all gonna make a final decision about Terry and Phil, about what the manager should do in respect to both of those guys. Both those guys. So we'll each, give our decisions and maybe a little bit why you think that. We'll start with Chandler. What would you decide about Terry and Phil?
I would fire Terry and kind of take a stand, even though the upper management likes him. And I'd probably fire Phil too. I'd fire both of them actually. And the reason being is that, like, they can sit there and they can talk all they want about how, they kind of have hope, but they're not making a ton of money in their company. Like, they don't have a lot of room to spare. So I would just say, let's get rid of both of you, clean slate, find a reason to get rid of you, and, let's move forward and actually grow our company.
Okay. And Connor, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd fire them both. At first, I thought I kind of wanted to keep Terry, or excuse me, fire Terry, but keep Phil. But I mean, seeing that he's his productivity was declining, I just don't think it's going anywhere good. So I'd fire both.
Okay, JJ, what would you do?
Because Terry brings nothing to the company or the team, I would fire him. And then Phil, he has good skills, but he wasn't fitting the team very well. But I don't know if I'd fire him. I'd maybe demote him to part-time or something and find someone to replace him while maybe encouraging him to find a different place in the company that he fits better, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there a while. Maybe he knows the company. Maybe there's a better fit for him, and maybe move him to part-time and hire someone else that can work into a full-time position once Phil finds a part-time position. So I don't know if I'd really fire him, but pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Caitlin, what would you do?
Fire Terry had even been hired by the company. Phil, I demote him to kind of like what Jay Gerson.
Mm-hmm.
So that would save the company.
What?
So I got fire Terry and demote Phil or move him.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay, and Keaton?
Yeah, so if I even had a choice, I would fire Terry, and I would give the other guy, Phil, an opportunity to quit and let him know that we were going to fire him 6 months ago, but that he got sick and we wanted to help him out, and we was hoping he would improve, but he never did. So, boom.
So sad. We were gonna fire you, but you got sick, so we're gonna keep you for a little until you get better. Then we'll fire you.
Yep.
He's brutal.
Truth hurts. For CFI 19 or 20 or somewhere around there.
Okay, and this one's for anybody, but are there any other alternatives to firing Terry? Like, is there anything else he could do, or is he just completely useless?
He's useless.
Tell him to quit.
Sorry.
Tell him to quit before he gets fired.
Yep.
I guess you could do the same thing with Terry that I mentioned with Phil. maybe there's a different place in the company for him that he can use his engineering skills because he's an engineer. But I don't know why he's in that department when he's not doing what he does best. Maybe there's a place for him better as well. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, and let's see. So what message would that send to everybody if they didn't fire Terry? And all the other employees know how he performs.
I don't know if that paints a good image, knowing that. I mean, I could see how moving him to another company or doing to another department, like JJ said, could be good. But I mean, if I were another employee working my butt off trying to keep my position, and I see that he's poorly performing and then just gets moved, I don't know. It depends on his skills, I guess, but I don't know if I'd care for that.
Yeah, it kind of. I know it would make me kind of bitter, if someone was getting paid the same as I am, but I knew that I had to, at times do some of their work or redo their work or whatever.
Yeah.
That would not be fair. Okay, so now we're going to read the part 2 of dismissing employees. It's not very long. It'll take maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. If you guys want to pull that up and read over it about the decisions that the manager made for both of them.
I'm not the most important one. It's Brownie. We lose Brownie.
I should have said it, but I was like, never. I'm like, I don't care what you really said. She's gonna be mad about it. No matter how many times she looks, it's okay. She's gonna be mad about it. That's her real story.
I don't know.
Anyone done?
Brain cancer, huh?
Yeah. Anyone need more time, or are you guys all good?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. So with Terry, what did the manager do well? How did she handle him well? No, for Keaton. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I gotta call you. But. So what did she do well?
What did she do well?
For Terry.
For Terry?
Yeah.
She was a friend with Terry. I feel like that she was honest with Terry, and she gave him a fighting chance. Kind of like, I'll give you 3 months to find a job, and we'll throw a big party for you. We'll do all these great things. So she was just super nice and caring.
Yep. Okay. Chandler, was there anything that she did with Terry that was not effective? Maybe that she shouldn't have done?
I don't think so. I feel like she did overall a really good job with Terry. I felt like how she communicated with him and let him know what he was doing. Maybe she could have put a deadline on it, a little bit more strict of a deadline, but I understand it's a pretty touchy situation, telling someone that they have X amount of time to find a job. So that maybe could have, like, we don't know too much into the backstory after what happened, but I could see someone in that position being like, well, I've got time to find a job. And like 6 months later, they still haven't done
it. Yeah. Yeah, and I saw in there that when she was talking to him, she compared him to all the people that he worked closely with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, in a way, I get why she did it, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to be compared to anybody else.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Let's see. Connor, what did she do well with Phil?
I mean, she kept him on, kind of gave him a chance, kind of just kept going with it because she didn't really have a problem with it and let him make that decision of moving to another team. So I felt like, that was an okay thing. I feel like I'm kind of neutral about the Phil decision. So I don't know if I saw any huge positives or huge negatives, but I thought it was an okay decision.
Yeah, so she kept him, and then I think he was the one that made the decision to go to the different area. I think that was her.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, she did keep him on. Okay, and JJ, what did she do that was not effective with Phil? Or maybe she did everything good. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it worked out for the company. Because you got to stay and you got to go to another department, but he still kept getting 3.0s, which isn't ideal. So maybe, I don't know. I don't know what she could have done better, what she did that wasn't effective. Seems like she really didn't have much to do because they already hired HR already hired a replacement for him. So it seems like it was them who did that, not her. So she was just kind of going with the flow of what HR was doing. Maybe she could have taken more initiative on what she thought was best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't really say like how long he was there before he decided to move. Maybe she could have helped him on his way.
Yeah.
Push him out a little sooner. But okay, well, that's all I have. That's all the questions I have. Do a fun wrap up. You know what we learned. Rated what I could have done better. Whatever the last one is, I forget the other one.
What you did good.
Yeah, what I did good. So we'll start with Chandler.
As usual.
Yes. Yep, you're all.
Well, this discussion went really well. I guess we could give this a 10. What I learned, I mean, I don't know if I really learned this, but I just solidified it that like hiring and firing is really tricky, and that you kind of have to have a really good reason for firing. It's not like everyone thinks like if you do a bad job, then you can just get fired. There kind of needs to be more to it. Elena, you did really well. I felt you were really prepared for this meeting. You had done your research, and like I feel like you kind of were a little bit more engaged in terms of like you said, you were glad you were a discussion leader because you were able to prepare for it and you had questions and you learned more. So I appreciated that. And something you can do better. Maybe just try and ask a little bit more engaging questions, because I just kind of feel like the questions were just like, I understand like you're reading from the paper, but like thinking of ways to like get us all involved. I don't know how to say that.
More group questions?
Yeah, maybe more group questions or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. Connor?
Let's give this a 10. I learned that firing people can, or potentially keeping a problematic employee can affect others in the company, and just kind of what those effects can be. I thought you did a really good job at evenly dividing up the questions amongst us. Something you can do better. Run over to Caitlin's house and make her internet work.
Yeah, jeez. Holy.
No, I just think these questions were just so, I think some of them were kind of worded in an interesting fashion. And so, I don't know, put your little twist on it. I don't know. Make it your own for the questions. But other than that, it was good.
Okay, JJ?
I'll rate it a 9 just because I didn't understand the reading very well. So,
I'll second that.
But I think that's what you did really well. I think you read it and understood it a lot better than most of us, if not all of us. That you can help me understand it better. So I appreciated that. Something you could have done better. You skipped me like two times in a row. You go to Chandler, you go to Caitlin.
I thought I noticed that.
Oh.
I didn't mind.
I thought you'd be glad. My goodness, I was doing that for you.
So that's a good thing and a bad thing just because you helped me out. But no, it's good.
I tried to be fair. I was trying to go down the road, but I don't know.
JJ, I'll call on you 3 times in a row next week. I got you.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, and Caitlin?
I think you did really good. One of the things that there are ethical obligations to whether you keep someone or but I think you did good. I'd rate this a discussion a 10. You were prepared, and I don't know. I can't think of anything right now what you can improve on.
Okay, and Keaton?
Oh, that was quick. Rate this a 10. Something you did really well is delegating responsibility and skipping JJ. Something that you could work on is yeah, I don't know. And then something that I did learn, like I was thinking about, like you always hear about on the news how these newscasters get fired because they made a accidental crude comment, and they might have been like the best newscaster in the world, but they were still fired. And it kind of makes me think that these companies keep these crappy employees, I don't know, because they're afraid to fire them. So I think just firing is not always a bad thing. Just do it.
Are you talking about the NBC guy?
Well, yeah, there's a bunch of guys. I think Bill O'Reilly. There's, you
Matt,
know,
Matt Lauer was the last one.
Matt Lauer, yeah.
yeah, there's so many of them. So, you know.
It's all over the news. Okay, well, I'm going to end this discussion, guys.